people need to realize that 5G is not just 5G. There's different levels of power of it. 5G frequencies are used by the military in America to disperse crowds and protests. What they do is they fire this 5G frequency from a military truck. And what it does, because the body is a receiver transmitter of information, it's an antenna, and the skin is an antenna. And what happens, particularly with this 5G frequency, is the skin decodes it, and it decodes it into a feeling that the skin is on fire. And that's why people scatter, to get away from the beam, so that they, their skin on fire feeling disperses. So the skin alone is interacting with this 5G frequency. And like I say, it has massive implications for human health. And the more they expand it, and the more they increase its power, because that's what the plan is, the more the immune system is going to respond, and the more apparently COVID-19 there will be. There are two ways to put, quote, viruses into the body. One is vaccinations, where you are using human and animal genetic material which can host this phenomenon. And the other is 5G. Because what 5G does, we'll get to this in more detail, is it poisons the cells through this fantastic electromagnetic power. And when it does so, the cells start secreting exosomes, which they have renamed a virus called COVID-19. Fear and stress generate electromagnetic frequencies which express themselves as chemical changes in the body, and they are a form of toxicity which the cell wants to get rid of. This is the process of how stress causes illness. So here we have billions of people around the world under lockdown, under stress, large numbers of them, out of fear of all the virus, and others, all of them, under some form of stress because they're basically under house arrest. And that stress is going to generate toxicity in the cells, which the cells will deal with by releasing exosomes, which this ludicrous test will measure as COVID-19. Another thing that 5G does, it does tremendous damage to the human immune system. And of course, the human immune system is going to respond by releasing these exosomes. And so, what has happened since this virus started and people have been locked away in their homes? You rightly say, the 5G rollout has gone into overdrive. We have had this psychopath who should be in prison for crimes against humanity, Elon Musk, getting permission while this virus is unfolding for 1 million ground-based antenna in America to interact, all part of this, creating this sub-reality based on technological electromagnetic fields, interact with the satellites that he's putting up through his company SpaceX to beam 5G to every inch of the planet. He wants 42,000 of these satellites circulating the Earth at overwhelmingly low altitudes, beaming 5G at the Earth. That's why he should be arrested and jailed for the rest of his human life for crimes against humanity. It's genocide. And I will not give him the benefit of the doubt that he doesn't realize that. Same with Bill Gates and vaccines and his massive involvement in what is going on in this virus scam. We'll come to that. And here's the story. SpaceX gets government license for 1 million satellite broadband user terminals. SpaceX now licensed to deploy 1 million of what Musk calls UFOs on a stick. SpaceX has received government approval to deploy 1 million user terminals in the United States for its Starlink satellite broadband constellation. These satellites are going up all the time, all the time. Tens of thousands are going to be up there before very long. SpaceX asked the Federal Communications Commission, which is owned by the cult and itself through the cult owned by the telecommunications industry. That's why they get whatever they like from the Federal Communications Commission. It's supposed to protect us from the telecommunications industry. This is why the FCC, Federal Communications Commission, allowed the rollout of 5G without any testing for its effect on humans psychologically or in other forms of health. Because it's a front for the cult, the global cult that's behind this virus, and it's behind the hoax of human-caused global warming, all the frickin' lot. It's behind the transgender explosion. I explain this in my books, what all this is about and how it connects. So SpaceX asked the Federal Communications Commission for the license in February 2019, and the FCC announced its approval in a public notice last week, right in the middle of this virus, with tremendous 5G connections. The FCC approval is for a blanket license for the operation of up to 1 million fixed Earth stations that will communicate with SpaceX's non-geostationary orbit satellite system. SpaceX's application said the Earth stations are user terminals that employ advanced phase array beam-forming digital processing technologies that make highly efficient use of Q-band spectrum resources by supporting highly directive steered antenna beams that track the system's low Earth orbit satellites. And another 21 towns, cities in Britain have had 5G turned on during this virus hysteria. Well, people are locked away in their homes. People are around the world, you're absolutely right, absolutely, I've got some here, reporting that these 5G antenna pounding this out down the street, because 5G doesn't pass through dense objects very well. So they instead of having big towers broadcasting over a long area, they have them down the frickin' street in front of your bloody bedroom and your kid's bedroom. And it's because they don't pass through solid objects very well that all the trees, urban trees, are being cut down in Britain by the thousand and thousand and thousand. It's to get them out of the way so they won't block the 5G grid. People, look around you. Notice the 5G towers going up everywhere. Now, what does this mean? It means the 5G impact upon the human body mind is expanding to cover more and more of the country. As it does so, you're going to have exosomes released in response to the toxicity caused, and you're gonna test for exosomes brackets renamed COVID-19, and the numbers are going to appear to increase. People who die are going to go on being designated to have died from coronavirus when they didn't, and you are going to have an expanded excuse for keeping this lockdown going around the world. This is how it's working.
It's an honor to be here at the National Press Club. The first generation wireless, 1G, was voice. The second generation, 2G, allowed both talk and text. The third generation, 3G, the internet, in a limited way. And today's technology, 4G, completed that digital migration. But if anyone tells you that they know the details of what 5G is going to become, run the other way.